All right, welcome to the Hideaway Hills Management Meeting as of November 9th, 2021. We have Steve Pundit on video. I think Marty Bendokis is going to be joining us as well. Just a reminder, we do have an open management committee position coming open at the end of the year. So if you're interested in exploring that, please submit your application to the office by November 19th. Consideration. All right.
Jim, Jim, this is Marty. Can you hear me? I just want to check. I just called in.
Okay, Marty's online. We have an invited guest, Chris Milburn. You're welcome to come up to the mic or sit down or wherever you want to sit. And you want to talk about deer population reduction.
Thank you for allowing me to address you this evening. It is my understanding that last year there was a controlled hunt in certain areas of Hideaway Hill with the calling of the deer herd. Understanding that this was done by bow only, and that there were instances of deer being wounded and not killed outright with the use of the bow. Understanding that during that, what was it, the full month of January that this was allowed?
That's correct.
6 deer were taken.
There's 5 or 6, but yeah.
That's not enough for the number of deer we have here. Deer hunter have been for 44 years. Studied wildlife management. In those 44 years, read many books, thousands of articles. We do have a overpopulation. Understand that there are people who want this to occur like it did last year because of the use of bows. From everything I've read today, they just don't want the deer shot, period. They don't want the herd called. I don't understand why. The overpopulation of deer is going to lead to starvation and disease. We'll start seeing dead deer all over the place in the next few years. Yeah, don't have to. I have no problem using a bow. I'm very proficient with one. I know that people last year that were selected volunteered to be part of this tested for proficiency as well. This year, I'd like to suggest something different. I'd like to suggest that we use firearms to humanely kill, take the deer to help them to herd. I am a retired law enforcement officer. I am very familiar with firearms, from handguns to rifles to shotguns, anything used in hunting world. There are various calibers and guns that can be used in a safe manner. Certain areas of Hideaway Hills, as to not put anyone or their herds in danger, such as a 357 Magnum, a 44 Magnum, a 45 ACP, and to abide by hunting regulations, a 44 Magnum lever action rifle. This doesn't mean we allow the use of 30-06, 308, 223, or any other high-powered rifle. Limiting caliber of the handguns, rifles, and or a 12-gauge shotgun with a slug would be a more humane way to help cull the herd. Some literature that I printed out today, if anybody would care to read it, on wildlife management. Deer herds especially is 8 to 10 deer per square mile. And any Department of Natural Resources, I don't care if it's Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Wisconsin, they will all tell you the same thing. Hideaway Hills cannot support the number of deer we have. You've got does twins and triplets in tow year after year, there's a problem. Somebody today mentioned sterilization. Sterilization projects have been tried in the past in other areas. They do not work. You can't guarantee that you're going to take a tranquilizer gun, shoot every deer, every doe in here, and inject them with birth control. It doesn't. I've got facts to prove it. I've got studies of it. I am both a hunter and a conservationist. I love animals. I love the deer in my yard. I think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I love seeing them every day, every morning, every night. Get up in the morning when I come home. Love seeing the deer. Hideaway Hills and the surrounding station cannot. I ask that we have another controlled deer hunt. I would ask that it be done with select individuals that they have to pass a proficiency exam, range unit. Not just anybody can sign up and say, I want to go shoot the deer. We do it in an organized fashion. I use a bow, that's fine. Also suggest to humanely kill the deer in any controlled, we allow the use of somebody like Jim Hiles, Wayne Mickey, even myself, that use of mainly pulling the bird. Ask the management committee consider having another controlled hunt.
Okay,
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
comments or?
Or a, pardon me? Yes, or a 350. Okay. Up in the air, so I will 5 miles. A shot. Did not work. Even if
Hey, if there's some conversation going on, I can't hear anything.
there was a question asked about the trajectory and range of a 357 Magnum, either from a handgun or from a rifle. Trajectory is based on the angle of the gun. And if you're in a stand, freestand, a tripod stand, or even a ground blind, you're not going to be shooting up in the air. You're going to be shooting at a flat level surface area, hopefully under 10 feet, hopefully under 6 feet angle, not a 30 or 45 degree angle. Same can be said for a 45. Same can be said for a 20 caliber pistol. It's going to track it at the right. I studied ballistics. I handle it. I know ballistic charges. If a tree stand is going to be an angle down shot,
For our viewing audience, there was a concern brought up about as Chris mentioned, the trajectory, the distance that a 357 round or some other firearm round might travel.
a 44 Magnum, found out 40 maximum effective range. less than 50 yards. Less than 25. Happened while we were Civil War. That after the 30 effective range. Got a 45 ACT bill. Maximum effective. The opposite. And in Ohio, you have to use a P350. Be one mag. Mine's a handgun or lever action rifle. Rifles, even with what West Virginia allows, the opposite. In similar terrain, I'm saying we use something like alcohol liver, mid caliber, limited cartridge, and select, vetted, and participate in this.
Yeah, come up,
Come
come up to the mic.
Jim Hiles, lot 399. I took part. Jim. Still exists. And you. Last year was a start to progress. I so believe last year, continuing the same course, matching exactly. It's going to be to the point we have discussed, there has been discussion. Official demonstrate that you are suffering damage. Idaho Police Club can adequately do the number of permits specific enough individual who can participate and be short of a snare spotlights, you this in my is going to be someplace like
Talking to the mic.
oh, I'm sorry. That's going to be someplace like at the range. You know, off season, we can bait the deer in there. We can have an effect on numbers. Problem is, we're so with what we did last year, we were so isolated in pockets that it's not going to have a broad-based effect. Also, I have no evidence other than what people have said and what I've seen where I hunted. It seemed like there were people. Make sure we won success. Let's just put that.
But is a violation of game hunting law. Interfere with law. Game.
It is against the law, but unless you know, a game warden catches somebody actually doing that, it's neither here nor there. That's why I think, you know, my original proposal, because I was doing what Chris did last year, and my original proposal was, in addition to the common areas, that some places on private property, the individual was vetted, bows only, firearms, you know, and people could have more control over the situation, have a broader impact on the overall population. That's my 2 cents. And, you know, if anybody remembers, I did a video last year on Facebook trying to answer some of the questions because there was tons of misinformation out there. Fabrications out there. I tried to address some of that stuff. It's still a problem. To help work solution. I think some changes need to be made in how things are handled if we're going to have any. Spent a lot of man hours and quite frankly, a lot of money. I ate 2 tags last year. It's money out of my pocket that I saved to have an effect on the deer population here instead of going to where I just didn't work out.
Thank you. So we'll talk about it later, consider it, and then decide what course of action we want to recommend. Ultimately, this is a board decision, not a management decision. Hunting is prohibited in Hideaway Hills and there are rules. So the only party that can change that is the board of trustees. So.
Guys, I've got one question before we close this out. So guys, is there any, am I on? Okay. Is there anything associated with, I mean, as densely populated as Hideaway Hills is with homes and or people, you know, does the same criteria that you would use to hunt with firearms in Hideaway Hills apply to the city of Columbus or?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
Because Columbus Metro Parks in the not so distant past, even today, has controlled hunts because of overpopulation of deer. They have vetted individuals, snipers, come in and hold a herd. They use firearms. They use firearms that I'm not even proposing to be used here, such as 223s or 308s, AR-15 style rifles, such, or 30-06, and they do so in a safe manner.
Well, and so I appreciate that. But what I'm asking is that I don't think there's any homes in the Columbus Metro Parks.
And they close those metro parks down.
Yeah, I mean,
there are homes within a good distance. I mean,
understood. Yep.
you know,
I just didn't know if there was a rule set that would govern the demographics of where you can actually do this and where they draw the line that you
Woods, they
can.
do it. Sharon Woods, they do it. What's the Metro Parks up on Cleveland Avenue by St. Anne's?
Understood.
A frangible load.
Situation. Specific spot. Just anywhere. It's not. Season. Specific place.
Understood. Okay. Thanks.
It's 2 separate things.
Understood. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave?
do aircraft. Fly around.
A home rain. Period. We are entering the rut. That 1 square mile increase could get an act. Be next to them. Even you think.
Okay, so we had a member with a question as to reiterating the 8 to 10 deer per square mile is what is called for, and asking whether or not there was a count within Hideaway Hills. And if not, could we get a count? Short answer is we could, but it would take tens of thousands of dollars. So that's probably not going to happen.
We have not ever done a study, Dave.
Yeah, I think maybe a good thing to reference would be last year or early this year when we had ODNR come in and give a presentation on this. And if people go back and look at that management committee meeting, there's a lot of great information that they passed out and discussed in that meeting. So that might help kind of refresh some memories on things.
So much air.
And Dave, to answer your original question, there'd be a significant amount of work we would have to do in order to make sure that it was completely vetted per the code, the rules, you know, and everything.
It's my main concern. That's it. Notice like this, I know that research, I just don't want to get shot.
I think that we all don't want to get shot. Appreciate that.
And just to reiterate, there was a point made by a member that we have used shotgun for effective control of geese and black buzzards. I assume that's within Hideaway Hills you're talking?
Correct.
Yeah?
On the
Okay.
deprivation.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chris.
My biggest concern is safety as well. See anybody's house get shot up. I don't want to see anybody's dog get shot or anything like that. If management committee sees fit to pass this on to the board, and should the board go ahead and approve this? Like I suggested, this should be done solely by vetted individuals who can demonstrate efficiency of their choice of firearm.
Okay.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move along. Jeff, you want to walk us through the numbers?
Yes, capital fund, we now have $421,961 in that account. Depreciation fund total is $443,555.
Any update or when our fairway mower's coming?
No, I actually emailed Josh, the rep, about that earlier this or late last week and haven't heard anything back yet.
I thought we were looking at end of November, which is
That's what we had been told.
Just in time for the snow.
yeah.
Yep.
We get it. We
If
can
we can get a
let,
plow on the front, maybe.
yeah, we know that number. Take it out one time. All right. Fund transfers we cover at the next meeting. I don't think there's any request for expenditures
No.
yet. Just discussion items at this point. So, okay. Steve, are you out there? You can discuss the Lancaster Country Club golf course equipment.
Yeah, if you guys can hear me all right. If not, I'll stop a second. Nothing heard. You must be able to hear me. I sent the email list out to you guys for your perusal. I don't have it in front of me. It is an opportunity for some used equipment since Lancaster Country Club is closing down. To my knowledge, Rick is looked at this equipment, has given it his first check through, not a very in-depth as far as operating the machinery or anything like this. They're looking for offers on the equipment. He put in some estimated amounts of what he think fair bids would be for this, and we just wanted to present the list tonight of this used equipment, which Rick feels between maintenance and the golf course we could highly utilize, and also save us some expense on the purchase of other equipment, maybe extending some of what we have a little bit longer. So I guess, Jim, if you got it in front of you, you want to review it so it's in the minutes of the meeting. Unfortunately, I can't do that if you would like to do that.
I don't have it in.
We don't have it in front of us. Did you
Well-
send out that we were
Yeah.
looking to buy?
Got an email.
Must have missed that one.
Steve, while I'm pulling that up, is any of the used equipment something that's already on our depreciation line to purchase in the next few years?
As far as it replacing something that we've got, I cannot answer that off the top of my head, Rick. I don't know that for sure.
Right.
I know that there is a two-wheel drive John Deere, and I know I don't think this is what Rick's intention is to use this to replace the purchase of a new UTV, as we've discussed. But in addition to the one we have that has a lot of hours on it, just a prime maintenance vehicle for running around the course. It's another pull type aerator. So the thought behind having adding to the one that we already have again would be helping with our labor situation. If we operate two of those at the same time, then we'll be able to obviously operate more efficiently, same amount of time, getting twice as much done as we look to, trying to help improve the golf course, reduce manpower labors, and make things, a little easier on our maintenance staff that we do have now, pending any possible additions of employees. Finish mower, which would, again, is a pull type mower that would go behind one of the tractors. Utilizing a piece of equipment like that would save the wear and tear on our zero turn mowers that we currently use to mow at the gun range and the airstrip. This mower probably, I would say, at least twice as wide, if not wider, than what we are currently using. Again, a good time reduction method for the same amount of time spent in those areas mowing. So that's kind of the idea behind some of that. There was a couple specialized units for aeration, as I said, on the fairways, and then a specialized mower for the greens also.
Yeah, I've got the list now, and I think you covered it all. Toro plug aerator, PTO driven, Gator, two-wheel drive, utility lift for golf maintenance building, the triplex with both vertical and backup reels. That was the most expensive on the list. And then that finish mower, which that definitely sounds like a good buy if we can get it for that.
What was the
Yeah.
What's the total of the equipment?
From the email, Rick thought everything could be that we need could be purchased for 10 or under.
Closer to 15.
Oh.
If we gave him the asking price for everything,
Okay.
but
He was-
specifically the equipment lift Rick's saying you can get a brand new one for $8,500 to pay $5,000 for a well-used
Yeah.
one would be silly. Suggesting $2,000 to $2,500 for that.
And that piece of equipment will allow our guys to work on the equipment, which they do and do a great job of, but it's going to allow them to safely lift this equipment up so they can get under it to service it instead of using jacks and jacking equipment up, blocking it up and things like this. This will actually allow them to lift this up and actually safely work underneath it to make repairs. So I think on the safety side, that's also a good idea, but pretty expensive piece if we can get it cheaper, but just wanted to put something together for you guys to consider, for us to consider, I guess, at the meeting tonight.
I don't have a problem moving forward with, we can buy
Agree.
the stuff at reasonable prices.
Should we consider just authorizing a cap, say 10,000 or less than that, equipment, and leave it up to Rick and Elmer?
Leave it to Rick and Elmer to go and help to go look at what's a good price and buy it.
Fine.
Stay under 15, we don't, well, it's not one specific
That's right.
purchase.
It's most of it's under Jeff's
That's true. The individual items are under $5,000.
Yeah.
I'll just take a motion that we spend up to what, 10, 12,000 total and make the best purchases.
I move that we authorize up to 12,000 based on Rick's expert negotiation and we get some good used equipment that'll help the golf course.
I can second that.
Steve and Marty, how are you guys?
I'm good with it. Just keep in mind that they were going to kind of hold this quiet for us, we believe through Tuesday, possibly Wednesday, and then they were going to start advertising the equipment. As of right now, it's just kind of something that we did find out about. So I don't know how active this market is, if the stuff will go pretty quick, but if we want to throw something in there, and with Rick being on vacation this week, kind of throws a little hiccup in it too.
Well, we can get Elmer back out there with him. It's 20 minutes away, if that, from what I understand.
Yeah, it's not that far.
Yep.
Okay. Marty, you good with it?
I guess the 12K seems a little high, but that's fine. I thought we were talking about low, going a little lower. So
Well, yeah, hopefully we can get them down on the prices. All right.
well, if we can't get a good price, though, we don't buy it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Rick's pretty frugal. So is Elmer.
Okay.
And I think the big wild card would be that equipment lift. If they won't come down on that, then no way, shape, or form do we want any part of it for $5,000. As much as Elmer wants to quit having to crawl around on the floor to work on equipment, he would much rather save up and wait for a new piece of equipment and pay $5,000 piece.
All right. The next item, capital fund budget. Did you send that out to?
I did not. I don't know if I didn't save the copy or just couldn't find it. So I'm gonna have to sit down with Rick again. He wanted to add quite a few things to it.
Okay.
Things like, and I've just some examples. A new equipment lift if we don't get this one. He's saying the roof at the post office here by the lodge will need replacing within the next 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
His take is not only adding septic and a well to the maintenance facility, but also the golf course maintenance facility. Same types of needs as do the people.
We can add it on the list.
So anyway,
the roof might
I've
be
got a
covered.
list somewhere with it. I may
Okay.
have just printed it out and not saved it.
All right. I'd like to get that out to Lakes Committee, Long Range Planning, Golf Committee, any other committees that are affected in soon. Because I would like to show that to the board in December, at least our preliminary plan is. Board storage landscape proposal. So I think everyone got a copy of a picture that when we put there's some trees in front of the boat storage area. When we did that boat storage area, members are concerned that aesthetically it doesn't look that great when you come down the road. Don't remember how we paid for it. So did Lakes Committee pay for And I think it came out of management funds or operating funds. We put some trees along the front there to try to grow up and kind of cover the boats a little bit. Some members are coming back and asking we kind of extend those tree lines around that area a little more to block it off. My only concern is how far up that dam or on the side you go, because there's a certain point where you can't go any farther and put trees. Encroaches on the dam. So we would have to make sure from 2LMN how far up you can go before you're considered in the dam. Anybody else, you guys looked at the proposal? I know, Sue, you were talking about the Lakes Committee asking for amendments for that. No, you're not gonna ask for the trees.
Hey, Sue, can you get near a microphone, please? I can't hear anything.
I don't bite.
Yeah, we haven't discussed on the committee whether, we just had a meeting and this came like right after the meeting, so we didn't discuss how much money we could or couldn't put into it, but I knew we couldn't put 11,000 into it. So, I think it was was this donated maybe by Pat Lynch before? He did the
I'm
work.
pretty sure it was. Yeah, and that was right after we created the lot back in the day.
Yeah.
One thing I would do, would that impede the guard's ability to look in there and see any type of activity?
Well, that's kind of what, that one end being open is kind of nice because they can still see that from over there.
I mean, not that you couldn't get up in there and
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
concealed.
We haven't had any trouble there. We had trouble more when we had boats in front of the shelter house, to tell you the truth, because of kids climbing on them and stuff during, when people had parties down there and stuff. And that's why we said none of that this year. But
I think-
my only concern, I guess, would be the bigger tree. There's only a couple big trees he's called out in there. The sweet gum trees, I was looking, they can be 40-foot tall when they get big. And so how big are their root systems? Are they going to impede that? And what comes in with that little ditch that comes down through there that feeds that pond? I mean, I know there's piping and we just need to know what's in there before we dig it up, like anything you dig up.
Yeah, you
There's
wouldn't
probably
want to put
nothing,
trees
but-
in there. We'd have to ask Lindsay or 2LMN to say how far.
Yeah, I'd feel better about if we just talked to her about it.
How far
and-
can you go up that structure before you
Yeah.
feed the dam?
And maybe those arborvitaes wouldn't be that big a deal once they get tall. They're tall enough to hide the boats, but I don't know about their root systems encroaching clear back to the dam. But those sweet gum trees are big.
Yeah, I'd be concerned
Probably a
with that.
water kind of tree too with those roots. And then you got mowing issues around all that stuff. You're going to be mowing and running over roots. We're talking 10, 15 years down the road, but it's going to cause issues to have big trees around there. And we do need some room, like where the grass is now. When the guys put the boats in there, they need a little room to move and manipulate those boats in there. So they have to be planted back just far enough that, but I would just check out that ditch there and what does that provide and what does they have around it to get into.
If we want to get 2LMN involved, maybe they talked about coming out to do a site survey for the
Yeah.
next round.
Yeah,
Maybe we
have
just
them look
pull them
at it.
over that direction and ask a couple questions.
Have them pull a drawing.
Just see how far we can go. That'll tell us how many trees we actually can plant.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there is some room around the front there that some more trees could be planted to help block the view from the road.
We were actually grandfathered, when we we did the dam and we had our original parking lot right up there against the edge of the dam. You'll remember what that was. That was just put in the 60s because you could just do it. And they considered not giving us another parking lot. And the shelter house really isn't legal down there either, because if a dam would go, all that stuff goes somewhere else. And when they build a dam now, like a state park or whatever, they don't have parking lots and things in front of a dam, but they let us, thank God, keep a parking lot, because I can't see driving.
So why would
54
why would you need to put why would we need to put trees or anything on the backside of that parking lot?
wondering too. I mean, I don't know if she means backside or the side.
I think it's
side
more
that-
the side, like toward the shelter house. So like when you're coming down,
Okay.
you really
Yeah,
can't
okay.
see the trailers.
Yeah, I think the picture shows.
Yeah,
it.
that makes sense. Okay, thanks.
Not so much on the backside by the actual lake, more so the side area. So I think it's kind of a work in process to
Yeah.
figure out some questions.
Thanks, guys.
I think
Any
Thanks,
other questions for Sue? She's looking to get away from the microphone.
She's gone.
Running, you're going. All right,
I'm all
so-
for the screening though. I came by there this week and it was like, yeah, that doesn't look good. So
No, and we had long discussions on there's a better place to put that, but
no, I get
there's
it.
a better place to haul the boats. You're hauling up Area 54, get them up there longer drive. Yeah, we do need to do some additional screening, I think. All right, JJ, what do you got for food service?
Food services. There was, we have a meeting tomorrow for the food services, but a couple things that were out there was, we have Santa coming for the kids on December 18th, breakfast with Santa. So we're thinking about possibly doing something in the afternoon, early evening for adults. Dwayne Mickey wants to sit in that costume all day long. We'll see what we can do. Just talk about it more tomorrow at the meeting.
If he needs a change out, we have a security officer that is also has
That
his
does?
own Santa suit that's very interested.
All right.
Al.
But yeah. Yes, Al.
I will note that. We are also looking into bingo. There's Ohio has a whole charitable bingo section where we could have bingo in the lodge, but we have to also have a charitable organization that's attached with it. And we've used the Bremen Food Kitchen and a couple other ones like that. So we just have to figure out what we're looking and what the percentage of charity goes and what can we just put into the pot for the bingo for the members. There are costs associated with it. There is training associated with it. We're just looking to see if it's something that people feel we should go for, or it's something we should just not even think about.
And the proceeds that would go toward a charity are just those from the bingo games itself, right? I mean, the food and beverage revenue stays with the lodge.
Yeah,
Correct. Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah,
get the, they
yeah.
get a cut of the
yeah.
they get a cut of the bingo money.
Okay.
I mean,
He
a
sent-
lot
he
of,
sent all the letters.
yeah, the money will, I mean, the one pot of money will go to the individuals that win, but a percentage of that will also just go to a charity.
I know Lancaster, you got two resources. Lancaster Bingo, obviously, help you there, and Geneva Hills, which is it's a camp out off Blue Run Road, Blue Lick Road. I think it's called. They do bingo in Lancaster. I don't know if they go around and do other bingos, but asking.
Yeah. Oh, because there's a ton of paperwork, there's a ton of regulation.
Yeah,
There's a lot
they
to
do
it.
bingo different places. I know they do it in Lancaster, but I don't know if they'll go out like here and set up and do bingo. They're a nonprofit that does that.
Well, we'll continue the research and go from there. There's also talk of, we had talked about hiring somebody for front of the house. That really didn't come about, didn't really transpire. There was no real true candidates. But we were thinking about the ability to hire a manager that would oversee the clubhouse, the lodge, both scheduling, payroll, ordering, things like that. Now it's some's at the clubhouse, some is at the lodge. Chris and Jeannie do their scheduling for theirs, but if we had somebody that would have oversight of everything, it would be worth looking into. It'd be a full-time person that would manage both places, get the ordering. I mean, work with Jeff, do the ordering, do the scheduling, do the payroll, doing all the things that Jeannie's doing over here and Chris is doing over here.
That may or may not already be in the preliminary budget.
We've talked about, but we were thinking more of a different avenue, but that's something I think.
Is it a manager or supervisor?
Yeah, manager, supervisor, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's somebody that it'll be the one person, instead of having Chris doing her thing, Jeannie doing her thing, or, you know, whoever, and Aaron doing his thing, it would all be under one person. Be controlled, scheduling, payroll, all the different things that are going on behind the scenes that, Chris and Jeannie and Jeff and Aaron are picking up.
Okay.
Except for wine, Cookie. I'm keeping wine.
She does the payroll for the employees at the lodge.
She turns hours
She
in.
turns the hours.
Yeah.
Penny does
Yeah.
all the.
Penny and
payroll
Jessica do
process.
payroll.
Yeah. Right. Not the HR payroll that way. That's what we have for now. The other thing that was on my list was budgeting for perimeter fencing, but we're going to talk about that in long range on another topic.
Build the wall.
How was Halloween? Was that a success?
Halloween that went very, very well.
Think we were profitable in there.
I think so. It was about $3,300 in revenue.
I think that's what it was. Yeah. It was around there. It was over.
3,033. One of the two. It just broke the $3,000. And the DJ was paid charitable type of thing that we did with apples.
Yeah.
To a charitable organization.
Fair enough.
That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Did you want to cover the new hours? I know it went out an email blast.
The only thing really that I guess we should emphasize with that is with the lodge closing at 9, that all depends on the people that are there spending the money. If we have somebody sitting there at 8:30 and has an order to drink in an hour, it's kind of hard to keep it open for that one person. So Jeannie or whomever at that time, same at the clubhouse. If there's no business going about, we've given them the ability to say, okay, this isn't working, so we'll close early.
Fair enough.
We didn't want to put it at the 8 o'clock because then people would think that, they're not going to go up there. We figured it's best to say, okay, nobody's here, we're going to close, as opposed to, okay, we're closing.
Gotcha. We want to talk about prime rib night and the lot updates.
Sure.
We can. I don't want to skip general updates. All right. Anything else, JJ?
Nope, that's it.
All right. General updates, Jeff.
Okay, so end of the meeting, we need to do it. Take a quick walk outside and look at the staircase going up to the back deck. There was I think I forwarded to y'all, structural engineer who happens to be a member that walked through with the key initiatives committee, but Rick was pointing out some additional issues and he feels like that staircase should be replaced. We have temporarily taken care of the issue that was pointed out. But yeah, it's going to be a pay me now or pay me later thing or to do it in the season and cut off access through the outside route in season.
Fair enough.
All right, helicopter trimming. So let's just all admit that has not been a pleasant experience. Can we do that?
Yeah.
I thought it was cool originally. It is no longer cool.
It is
Aye.
Okay.
What are we voting on?
You
John?
can't
It's
vote.
aye.
Yeah.
It was cool for about the first 2 minutes.
Yeah. Tell the first power glitch. So there have been, and I've not heard through any other route than a couple of members, but that we've had as many as 7 or 8 power outages, one of which affected the clubhouse area, and 36 other folks within Hideaway Hills for 11 point whatever hours yesterday. And Chaz was mentioning one today that went on for a bit. So I've had some words with both the Penline folks, the contractor, and South Central Power this morning. Apparently, it didn't do any good if you guys had to wait a few hours for power, but that's yeah. Anyway, they are to be completed by Thursday of this week. As originally it was going to be last week, then it was going to be today, and now it's going to be Thursday. I think there's rain in the forecast for Friday, so that gives me hope. But they're getting done what needs to be done quicker than they would trying to get bucket trucks to these areas and people climbing poles and whatnot. But we have had several power outages because of it and a lot of power flickers because of it. They did send a note out today that we sent out by email blast saying that they understand there was some concerns about cleanup from the helicopter trimming. They've got a few people on that now. As soon as the trimming is done, all of the spotters will then be assigned to clean. They'll have trucks out there. They'll have gators with trailers out there. They'll have mowers out there to take care of some of the that they've not. Okay. In the meantime, I've gotten about a couple dozen calls on it, and we've happily given out the South Central Power Forester's phone number. Budgeting process is that was just real. I think that I'm waiting until January 1st to start it again this year. It's been going on most of the year to some extent, and to it now. Rick being the spendiest. Initiatives group was, as they met yesterday, was talking about potentially getting a couple of Chaz, I should this week.
Okay.
Backhoe quotes you have in front of you, or at least you should. 2 quotes, and so far we've gotten zip from John Deere, but I think most of them are on strike, if I'm not mistaken. So there's good reason for that, I suppose. Caterpillar being the preferred brand or manufacturer. Anyway, we've got 2 quotes in front of us. Both are the identical unit. One for $114,162 has a manual coupler or pin grabber or thumb, and the other one for $116,520, about $2,500 more, has a hydraulic thumb that is easier on the crew. They have come out. They looked at our old Caterpillar unit, and because used everything is so hot right now, they think we get a minimum of $40
on trade or
on trade. Yeah. They have not gotten us a solid number yet. This was just the guy that was coming out. The official appraiser hasn't said anything yet. But that, you figured on the $116,000 one, you're looking at about $128,000 with tax. So not 40 or better off of that, and right about what we paid for a unit. Mistaken.
I say we go with the hydraulic.
Well, yeah, for
Safer
$2,500.
for the $2,000.
Yeah.
It's easier. It's safer. It's safer when you know what you're doing.
There you go.
You
And
don't
then
know what
this
you're
is
doing.
not an expenditure request. This is just preliminary information, but this is on the depreciation list. I think our far and away our biggest planned expenditure.
This will obviously have to go to the board. What are we trying to target November to get this in front of the board, or are we going to try to target December? How quickly do they want us to order?
I would like to. They've actually got 3 of these on the lot, and they can switch out manual versus hydraulic. Yeah. John Deere, I'd like to give them another month to resolve their issues and at least be able to get another quote, because otherwise we're going with Caterpillar and that's it.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to get.
So I do have a question about this. If that's worth $40,000, right? That extra $80,000 buys a lot of maintenance. What do we gain by getting brand new backhoe, other than a brand new backhoe?
You get it back.
Functionally.
Yeah, I mean, versus one that we are continually having to put money into that's got over 6,000 hours on it. You get with a brand new one, you get a warranty, certainly, and one
Yeah,
that
it's only a year.
we don't have to spend so many man hours on.
What are we spending per year to maintain that?
I don't have that in front of me.
I thought we put about $6,000 just in a control unit this year.
Yeah, not that long
Yeah.
ago, and I don't remember if it was the only one or
Those,
not.
those
but it
were
was about
also the
$6,000.
units we bought that were out of a rental fleet as well.
Yeah, they were bought used.
Yeah, they were bought used
I-
when we originally bought them.
Yeah. I'm just asking because that still means we have to spend $80,000, right? Plus delivery and that, right? And I'd like to see what we spend per year on the maintenance on it and what we would need to do to see how that plays out over the life of, to get a few more years out of it, right?
Well, I mean, what's our, if the thing is constantly down, I would challenge you that it's pretty well worthless to us. The thing is, when we need these things for emergencies,
If it's constantly down, then it's not worth $40,000, right?
It's
I
worth-
mean, why would somebody pay $40,000 for something that's broken?
No, it operates right now,
I don't know.
but knowing that we are doing most of the repair work on it, we're back into that tug of war of, do we want our maintenance guys out doing the stuff that they're supposed to be doing for the club, or working on equipment that we bought used exceeded its useful life. And I'm not saying this one
Do we
is
look at a maintenance contract?
for a new one?
For
No,
used-
for the used one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just asking because it seems it's a lot of money, right?
Yeah, but equipment's expensive.
No, I understand that, John.
I mean, the thing is, do you want a piece of equipment that doesn't work, or do you want to finally get something decent? We bought these things used, and they've
Well,
been
Jeff just said it's working.
worn out.
Oh yeah, it's operating right now. It's been down plenty throughout this year, and we've got plenty of man hours into repairing it. And I don't
Yeah,
have
how many man hours in it?
now after Rick's back. Certainly get parts for you. After Rick's back,
I mean, how?
I can find
I
out
understand.
what the man hours they've logged on it.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that, right? And I understand that having to have something that's reliable and available. But has that gotten in our way?
So Marty, are you saying that we keep the older unit, or are you saying that we should look at the price of a newer used unit? I'm not sure where you're going.
But I'm going with what's the best value for the club.
Right. Okay.
Right, because especially when you see that as a trade-in, they're willing to give us $40,000, right? Which means that they're probably going to sell the thing. They'll put a little bit in it, but they'll probably try to sell it for like 60 plus or something, right? To make their money.
Sure.
And I don't know the used equipment market. I'm just guessing, right? So it tells me that there's some value there, and the thing is still worth something. So I'm just asking, it doesn't sound like we have any kind of data on availability and repair costs and things like that. To look at that maybe a little closer to see what's the best value for the club.
I
Well,
can
that
chime
makes
in a little. I'm
I-
sorry, Marty. Let me know when you're done. I've got something.
I'm done.
Okay, so we talked with this when we were down at the course looking at it, and talked to Elmer and talked to Rick about the backhoe and things. And that's the same thing that I kind of asked him. It's just for helping justify if there's questions asked. And he did state that he would be on vacation, and when he gets back, kind of look at his maintenance records, and that's something that I've already kind of talked with him about, just so we can have a better understanding. Are we throwing 20,000 away a year on maintenance for this thing? At which time it does get kind of cost prohibitive to continue to do that thing, and still at the end of that repair still have a worn out piece of equipment. So, that would be justifiable, right? If we could pick up 80,000 for a brand new and catch a year warranty, maybe even squeeze another year or two out of them if we do an extended service plan on something new. But Rick understands that and the cost of what he puts into it. And our long story short is, even with the golf course, we're looking at trying to figure out if we have to stick with the current manpower situation, how can they become more efficient? And our inefficiency is coming in repairs and maintenance. And while they do a terrific job, if they're wrenching, they're not doing, like you just said, they're not doing the work and servicing our members, which is exactly what they were hired to do. So, but Rick is more than willing to provide that information, but he was going to be off this week, and
Right.
I'll get with him next week and we'll kind of look at that because no, he's 100% into that. You know, he's good with the
And-
justification of it. He doesn't feel slighted by us asking.
Well,
And-
well, the other thing too on that, right, is to look at what would it cost to have a maintenance contract with somebody to come out and take care of our stuff, so that our guys don't need to be tied up on equipment maintenance that much, right?
Yeah, and I think he is getting, the handle on some of that too, as we look to electric work and a lot of other stuff that they've always done that they realize now is probably in the long run costing our club because they're pulling 2 or 3 people and going about things and maybe taking longer. So they're on
Yeah.
board with this, but I think we're just going to have to crawl a little bit longer before we get up on our 2 hind legs and really carry away on this. It's just an old fleet of equipment, but Rick's kept it going this long, but I think the
Yeah.
productivity, I'd rather spend the money on labor somewhere down the road is to, like you say, if we don't have to spend money now on
Yeah.
a piece of equipment, but
Right.
justification.
And we're looking at buying more used equipment too, right? We're looking at buying other used equipment, and we don't know what we're gonna, we don't know what kind of issues there may be there.
Correct. And that's why Rick went and looked at it because he needed to know.
Behind fairway mower is a whole lot different than a loader backhoe. That is a tow behind fairway mower, not a loader backhoe, Marty. This is a piece of
No, I understand.
hydraulic
Yeah.
operated piece of equipment. If you bring in Caterpillar techs this far, you're paying $160 an hour plus travel, plus
Parts.
parts,
If they
plus
have 'em.
everything else. So
Excise fees, all kinds of good stuff.
yeah.
Or
Good points. That's good discussion, Marty. And I guess I should have spoke
Got a
up a little
question from the
quicker.
floor, guys. Hold on.
Please have him come to the mic so we can hear him.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay. The question I have is I'm hearing, and I've gone through this with my own piece of equipment, looking at upgrading. I'm hearing right now the market is, if you're buying right now, you're buying really above what market normally should be. Is that a consideration at all in this discussion?
Well, I'll say we're getting way more in our trade. And this is about what we had thought it was going to cost. I don't know if they've gone up or down, what the market's going to actually do.
A
But
lot of that equipment.
I think the risk there is not, going another year or waiting for the pricing to come down, if it ever does, type of thing too. So
I'm worried about possibly the reason we're not hearing from Deere is they don't have any in stock and they don't know when they're going to get them. And so it's interesting. They've got 3 on hand.
I thought that was really,
And when those go, it's a wonder, when they're going to get the next round, because
And what we had budgeted prior to me on the depreciation list was 125,000. But I'm assuming that was with sales tax and without a trade-in. This is $3,000 for that. So I haven't bought a backhoe in 12 years. So I don't know how much they are before this, but I don't know. It seems like almost like the used market is hotter than the new market is.
Yep.
Damn, darn. And how's the new market looking? Oh, okay.
I'll just say this: we do need 2 backhoes. Storm we had in 2017, a lot of trees down. Maintenance was in here right away with those backhoes. We got the thumb levers. They were invaluable to get trees out of the road quickly, so they could just pick them up, throw them off the side of the road, get our roads cleared for emergencies, and people would get back to their houses. So I don't want to see us having the risk having equipment down if we have another storm like that.
Well, there's been other times even this year that at some point rent just trading in or selling the older one and renting one as needed was talked about. But frankly, when we need to rent one, probably
Everybody
so
else
does
does,
most of the other
I just remember us all rolling our eyes when they asked for the thumbs until we actually saw them use them. And then we were patting each other on the back. So
All right, so we're gonna continue to try to get a John Deere quote, and then,
This case thing back.
Oh, yeah. Case makes a very nice, a good one.
Okay,
Also,
I'll take
Jason-
Case. Go ahead and put it.
JCB makes a pretty good one. Now, I don't think they're as good as the Cat, but you're going to get another price and you'll get another trade-in value. JCB,
they're in English.
English, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Kubota does them now too. Not that I'd say I want to,
have anything.
not that I say I want to go that way, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's
I don't see the
there's a-
minis.
there's a Ford out there that does it also.
Case are going to be the most comparable to the Cat, I think, for quality.
Okay.
I can't tell you
Besides
about price.
John Deere or more so than John Deere?
Probably in the same.
Okay.
If John Deere decides they ever want to quote.
Back to work first.
Yeah.
All right, what other general updates you have?
Rick is on vacation, and he's actually on vacation for 2 weeks. He's hanging out in the woods somewhere. So whether or not he takes any deer or whatever is in season right now, he is happy just to be hanging out in the woods all by himself. And the next we've got is the insurance quote options that we need to decide by the 15th. Otherwise, we're uninsured.
What, did we get the generator at Clubhouse fixed?
So it started right up this morning. We have been, the company that we purchased it from has been waiting on a new alternator for the last, what's been 2 months? I had that report 3 months. Parts are not in yet. So they had put what Rick calls a battery tender. I call it a trickle charger on it, which is great for keeping it charged when it's not running, but when you run it for 11 hours straight, the battery died. So that's what happened. And maintenance figured that out by them. So
Charge the battery and it runs again.
yeah, go figure, right? So, a big part of the problem was the fact that we had to run the darn.
So the battery going down is what it seems like the issue was then.
Yes. Yeah,
And we have known that for some time.
Say again?
I said we have known that for some time. Did you mention we've been waiting for parts for 2 months?
Yeah, it's been 2 or 3 months that these guys have been waiting for parts on the thing. We call them, and they still claim they don't have the parts in.
Okay, so again, when it didn't go on last time, kind of mentioned maybe that's something we should put on a checklist or something for maintenance. So I'm just thinking if it's been a long-term thing, I know we can move stuff to the lodge, but if we have a power issue there, then that's going to give us a problem too. But if we've known this was not charging, maybe we should have had a daily check on that to make sure that it was charged or put a charger on sooner.
Well, it was charged just fine, and the charger remains on it. The fact is that without it recharging, a trickle charger is not going to keep up with the power that it's drawing from the battery. So the fact that it was running for 11 hours, drawing more power than was trickling into it, is what maintenance feels caused the issue.
So isn't that thing still under warranty?
We could have put a heavier charger on it and kept it running. We just didn't know that.
Yeah, and with the fast charger, I don't know what you do.
Marty, I don't know. I do not know if it's under warranty bill.
Okay.
I believe it is, which maybe why we're waiting so darn long for parts. Maybe it's a supply chain issue, maybe because it's under warranty, but I'm almost positive, Marty, that it's still under warranty.
Okay.
Again, I didn't want
usually
to sound like I was negative on my comments. I was asking, is there something else we could have done, a bigger charger or something to keep it going? I guess that's kind of the first.
Usually,
I guess it was brought to us.
Usually, there's usually a switch on those chargers that you can increase the amperage.
Okay.
Depends if they put a true trickle charger on it or if they put a regular charger.
I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
And I think bottom line is nobody expected the darn power to be out until 7:45 p.m.
There's the justifiable cause. You're right, Jeff.
I blame South Central Power. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's send them a bill. What do you think?
There you go.
I'm sure it'll get paid right away.
Yeah. Good news is, as soon as we had the first truckload come up to the lodge to get in the freezers and cooler up here, before Cash pulled the security truck away from the clubhouse, South Central Power managed to get the electricity back on.
That's good.
That's a win. We'll take it.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about our club insurance.
All right, Marty and Steve, I'd sent this out not long before the meeting, hour and a half maybe prior.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at it. I've been in the field all day, so.
I saw it.
Between JJ and I, as best we can, the Reader's Digest version. So this is not the company that covers our employee health and dental. This is the company that covers general liability, vehicle, building, and
Property,
like IT, yeah,
property and casualty.
cyber attacks, and covers the liquor license, directors and officers insurance, and that kind of thing. So there's a whole bunch of pages to it. I think it's 23 pages. But I'm not going to read off all the exclusions because most of it doesn't count. Doesn't matter for here. So you've got commercial property insurance through AIX Specialty Insurance is the best rate they found, with a property deductible of $5,000. That's page 4. Page 5, statement of values for total buildings. 1,112,878 currently. Business personal property at 287,000, which is contents essentially. Both of those have a $5,000 deductible, and then there's a loss of business, or what they call business income with extra expense, which is to the tune of $74,000, and that was based on a formula from 3 or 4 years ago, what the business levels were between the lodge and the clubhouse. All right, our statement of values next, and this is where it starts to get a little bit complicated because we asked him to include stair-step building values because all of our buildings are undervalued as far as what replacement costs would be. So building, or option number 1 is where they're all currently covered. Okay, to the tune of the $112,878. Building option 2 is if we chose to stair step all of the buildings up to $75 a square foot. Well, that actually knocks the lodge building back about $12,000, but everything else is significantly higher, to where the total comes to $1.8 million. The next level of stair step, or option 3, is taking it to $90 per square foot replacement, and that takes us to $2,101,000. And then the final step is closer to what they're saying are current commercial replacement costs at $105 per square foot, and that takes us to $2.4 million. Okay, contents remain the same. For the fitness center, it's like the clubhouse, and the lodge at $287,000. So those 4 options, what we have current, $75 a square foot, 90 a square foot, or 105 a square foot, become important as we look at the premiums and the deductibles later on. You've got your equipment floater, which is equipment for which there is next the statement of value for equipment, $728,000 worth. And deductible is $1,000 on that. General liability is $1 million per occurrence, general aggregate of $2 million, and then products and completed operations aggregate of 2 million. There's also an overage there for $1 million. Get further on. And
Hey, Jeff,
yes,
equipment.
yes, sir.
Is that all rolling stock, all kitchen, all computers? What does equipment break out as?
No, equipment includes the computers and kitchen equipment are covered under contents for the restaurant and the clubhouse. $200,000 for the lodge building, and what was it, 8,800 or something for the clubhouse. This is going to be all what they called floating equipment that can go from area to area, if you will. There are 3 trailers on here that actually need to be under the vehicle insurance. JJ had caught that. So those will be moving over line number 18 and 19, a pontoon trailer and a Hoosier trailer. And then line number 34, another Hoosier trailer that will all be moving over to the vehicle insurance. Those were misplaced. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, I was just, when you said equipment, I was just wanting to make sure that was not rolled up, including all of our rolling stock also. So no, that's good.
Okay.
Also, are those amounts per occurrence? Is that the max cap under an umbrella? So what if the only building involved would be, let's say, the lodge? Is there a fixed cost on that, or is this each of these figures as you stepped it up? Is that a one-time occurrence? How is that stated?
That is, so yeah, it's per occurrence, and that deductible or whatever deductible we choose is going to be per occurrence. If you had a wildfire that wiped out every building in here, it's a $5,000 deductible. If you have something that takes out, Jim Hiles is sitting there, so the range building, shooting range building, that's going to be a $5,000 deductible.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just, so if we only lost the clubhouse, let's say, how much is that clubhouse insured for? Does it fall under an umbrella for the 1.6, 2.4, the different stair step amounts, or is that a set value?
No, that is a set replacement. What we're saying is a replacement value. So that is currently, hold on, let me find it. Golf clubhouse, 61,702. At the high end would be a little bit more than double that if we were looking at $105 a square foot. So currently that tells me that we're about $50 a square foot on that.
So you're just looking at total aggregate value based on the square footage cost that we actually would apply on the different levels.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Just, I didn't know if the 1.6 and the only occurrence was the lodge getting blown down by a hurricane, that we would have more than just the stated value to replace it, or if it was just that way. That's what I was checking, more of a replacement cost, or they're just going to write us a check and walk away from it, and we got to do what we got to do with it.
That would be the latter.
Okay.
And that, if there was damage, then they would figure out whatever they figured for the damage. But if at maximum, if the building blew down, burned down completely to the ground, right now $61,702. Ain't gonna cut it. Nope. We are looking on I'm back on the equipment page now. Looking at the generators. I don't think we've got 3 Generac generators, do we?
Some portable.
Okay.
It is pretty-
Okay. Well, they're all listed
They're
as
all the same
PG
size.
7000,
Yeah.
so
I
we
thought-
may be losing a generator or 2 off of there. I'll wait till Rick gets back. But
Yeah, because they had one they used to bring to the clubhouse. They don't want security. So there may be 3.
Two of them
Okay.
have the same serial number, so I think it's
not quite. That's
Yeah.
what I said. Nope. Where
Take a
where
look
the
at
first one says
5909.
59 and the next one says
Oh.
77.
Yeah.
oh boy,
Sneaky.
they are.
So we bought them awfully close to each other. This does include all of the new equipment that we have thus far, right down to and a couple items, frankly, that had been missed. 2000 case tractor wasn't on there before at the tune of $90,000. but then right down to the Cyclone Buffalo turbine blower, which I think was the newest piece that we've got.
And what we have to do is we have to be diligent in our own with, if we get rid of something, let them know, or if we buy something, let them know. So they can get it right on the policy or take it off.
So we'll get the new fairway mower needs to get up here.
Correct.
Yep.
Take the old.
Any definite exclusions on this that they note? So I just know through homeowners, trees falling on buildings, unless the part that it hits, the structure itself or something attached to the structure, is not insured on most policies unless it's added and written that way. And we kind of live in the land of trees, and I know most of them are cleared away from the buildings where it shouldn't be an issue, but with the straight line winds, and unfortunately, a lot of members found out we had damage and we didn't have insurance to cover something we thought we did because of an occurrence through a windstorm, and not actually getting direct compensation back for damage to homes unless the trees are directly falling on them and not in prior bad health, and a lot of little catch things that insurance companies like to do.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to read the exclusions for commercial property just for you. You ready? Here we go. Dry rot and microbe exclusion. Earth movement exclusion. So as long as we don't have any California earthquakes in Ohio, we should be good there. Flood exclusion. Aluminum exclusion. And that was confirmed. We do not have aluminum wiring. Marty, I'm hoping that was a correct confirmation. Pollution exclusion. Asbestos.
I wouldn't bet on that one.
Okay, well, if we do have aluminum wiring, then it's excluded. Asbestos exclusion, mold exclusion, actual cash value on roof surfacing, which is if a smaller portion than a total loss on the roof took place, they're going to prorate it differently than if it was a total loss and the entire roof was covered. Right, that's JJ?
Yeah.
Okay. Pre-existing damage exclusion, loss due to virus or bacteria, computer virus and system penetration exclusion, and all other exclusion as per policy forms and endorsements. So.
Interesting.
What's that?
I said that's interesting. I guess if anybody's not had an experience with the wind, we took it on the cuff a couple times down here since we've been here, and that's why I was just wondering. So I don't know that we have any great exposures on any of our buildings, but I just think maybe it's a question to ask now instead of later and find out we're not covered, on the tree or the storm damage stuff, because they get a little funny about that. At least they have in my experience.
Okay, well, tree damage we specifically asked about. That was as related to that roof proration. Storm damage, unless it's a flood.
Right. Yeah, no, they said that there's a lot of these exclusions that are picked up in other policies throughout the whole package. But really, it was the difference between a total loss and a partial loss. You get a partial loss, and what you get reimbursed is for, 100% minus 5 years, 10 years, whatever. Like anything else with the insurance, you can't better the building with the insurance money. You can only get it up to where the standard was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes and no. So if we wanted to up coverage liability, let's say on equipment or something, so is this replacement on equipment? So is this prorated? Is this replacement value, or is this going to be less depreciation? Because that's a big deal if we have to replace the equipment, even though we have the 78,000 or whatever it is. That doesn't mean we're guaranteed to get 78,000 after they figure their depreciation into that. So that's why I was wondering if this is off a replacement cost or if it's going to be off depreciation value, which a lot of our stuff's pretty old.
The valuation is actual cash value.
So that would be less depreciation.
Correct.
Not 100%.
Correct.
replacement.
Yeah.
It might be something we want to look at
Well,
if we have time.
We don't have.
Or down the road, we definitely want to look at that because I'm afraid some of our equipment, by the time they depreciate it out, we may end up owing them money.
There's a couple things, Steve, that we really have to look at in the upcoming year. A lot of it is with the values that we have. We've talked about this before, the value that we have on the buildings. Some some costs are over, some costs are under. It's something that we really have to look for in the future. But unfortunately, time is somewhat of a factor now. And the things that were overvalued and the things that were undervalued, from what I've looked at, is not quite a wash, but it depends on what happens. You know, sure.
Well, we're going to bank on nothing happening, so we won't talk about it. But no, that's good. Let's get it on everybody's mental calendars for like July next year, or June. We should start talking about this.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely,
good timing.
definitely.
Guys, do we know what the
Open-
square footage of the clubhouse and the lodge is?
It's on there, I believe.
Did they put it on?
I didn't see it anywhere.
Oh, no, I guess not. It was on what we originally had. We do. It's not in the statement of value, so.
Okay, can you just send that to me tomorrow or something, Jack?
Just those two buildings?
Yes. What was the other big,
Barn's big.
what's that?
Said the barn's big.
The barn, yeah.
Barn? Okay.
Hit me with the barn too.
Maintenance. Well, actually, both of them now are pretty big square footage. But,
And the fitness center are all over 200,000.
oh yeah.
I'm going to send it all to you, Chaz.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no worse feeling than feeling like you got insurance until something happens and then you find out that you're just getting excuses instead of what you thought you were going to get.
That's what insurance companies do better. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I know. I've had some really bad experiences. It's just like, wow, everybody needs to know these things.
Can't live with it, can't live without it.
Exactly.
Amen.
Page 8 is just general liability exposures. It tells us what the different exposures are from the HOA itself for the single family homes to tennis courts, basketball courts, boat storage, docks, shooting range, swimming pool, et cetera, et cetera. Commercial auto, bodily injury and property damage liability, $1 million. Medical payments, $5,000. Uninsured, underinsured motorist, $1 million. Comprehensive deductible is $1,000 and collision deductible is $1,000. Additional coverage is fellow employee coverage in case one employee drives a vehicle into another employee's vehicle. Blanket additional insured when written by required contract, and I think there was an overage on vehicle as well. Oh, there was.
So this liability piece is covered on the same as the buildings, or did you go on to equipment or to auto policy?
No, this is auto.
Yeah, commercial auto.
All employees are insured if driving a company vehicle or if driving their vehicle on company business. We would be secondary insurance if they're driving their own vehicle on company business. Their own vehicle insurance would be primary.
Are we required to provide abstracts of driving records for our employees operating our machinery or trucks?
Do that when people that are going to be driving company vehicles are hired, the driving record.
So it's only done at hire. It's not done annually.
Correct.
Okay, it should be done annually. So we need to look into that. We've had cases that when that's not done, they can turn down coverage.
Okay.
It's just something we ask. I'm not an insurance expert, but I know we've had through fire service, township things. We had to have those abstracts every year, and they determined whether or not that person was liability or was okay to drive our equipment. So we might want to ask that question and look before we have an accident and find out that maybe we had a driver with a poor driving record or something, and then we're left to hold the bag.
What the insurance companies are doing is they're coming back and requiring you to do it every 6 months and send it to them. If they don't ask for it, they can't not cover. I know this because I got a big fleet of people driving. If they don't ask for the MVRs, then they have to cover them. But I'm surprised they haven't asked for MVRs because it's a huge risk and it's a huge loss right now for insurance companies.
And it
It wouldn't be a bad idea to just get them done for anyone driving.
That was just my thought, Jim. Exactly, because we don't like surprises.
I can help you with the form, but we just make our employees fill out a form every 6 months.
That's
They just
exactly what you do.
They just
Yeah.
rerun it. The insurance companies can rerun those MVRs pretty quickly.
Okay.
Once you don't have to have the employee fill it out because once they fill it out and sign it, the insurance companies can just run it every 6 months to see if, when your employees get a DUI and suddenly they didn't tell you and suddenly nobody wants to cover them.
Yeah.
Problem.
Liquor liability is next. Each occurrence is $1 million. General aggregate $2 million. There are a couple of exclusions there: assault or battery exclusion, and that is specifically if one of our employees were to assault or batter someone, that's going to be excluded, and a firearms exclusion, which the broker was mentioning. Can't find one without firearms exclusion these days. So, the law is pretty strict with who can carry a weapon is being sold, particularly for on-premise consumption. And so if somebody were to go above and beyond that, not only are they criminally liable, but they could also be civilly liable, but the club would not be covered. Excess liability is an additional $1 million per occurrence and an additional $1 million general aggregate. Dram shop stuff can get pretty pricey. Service.
Liability.
Yeah. And then we've got excess liability, which is going to be excess general liability for $5 million each occurrence, in addition to the $1 million that we were already covered, and $5 million general aggregate in addition to the $2 million general aggregate we were already covered. Directors and officers liability is $1 million for each wrongful act, $1 million aggregate. Additional A-side coverage would be, what was the explanation for that, AJ?
No, I don't remember.
Okay. Had to do with something from the past. Say a director is no longer a director this next year. Something comes up from last year, that would cover that. The furthest back we are covered is January 27th of 2016, which is when we signed on with these folks. Cincinnati Insurance.
Yeah, and that has to do with the common exclusions, which happened years and years ago.
Yeah.
But yet, we're not liable for it anymore, but we're not covered for it.
There's a specific couple of common exclusions, specific claimant exclusions. 2010, apparently. Employment practices liability coverage is for $1 million for each wrongful act, $1 million aggregate. Third-party liability is $1 million. Workplace violence expense limit $250,000. Wage and hour defense sublimit $100,000, and immigration defense sublimit. Also has that same person in the case excluded. Okay, fair enough. Make it a single malt scotch and you got a deal. And then cyber liability, we're actually switching from Travelers to Lloyd's of London. And that is pretty well incident response, legal and regulatory, privacy and security, IT security and forensic costs, crisis communication costs, and privacy breach management costs are all covered at $1 million each. And there's an extortion coverage at $1 million, corporate identity theft, telephone hacking, unauthorized use of computer resources at 250,000, system damage and rectification costs at $1 million, an income loss and extra expense of $1 million, reputation harm of $1 million.
We can cut that. I don't think any of us have a reputation worth defending. So.
Hardware replacement cost of $1 million.
What do you think,
and then a
Chaz?
deductible
Very
of 5,000. Now, the reason for the change to Lloyd's of London, Lloyd's of London is the one, not only the largest insurer in the free world, but also is the one that does not require multi-factor authentication, right? MFA? Yeah. Where you'd have to, every time you log on, you'd have to either get a VPN code on your phone or a text on your phone with an access code to put in and that kind of thing. And that's not something that we currently have and would be relatively costly to put into place. Much more the big companies, I'm going to go with hotel companies, the Marriott's, the Hilton, and that kind of thing that are putting those into place, not the smaller entities. And then we get to the premium summary. So buildings would be going up about $4,000 for the year, but we added 3 new buildings: fitness center, package storage, and the new building at the golf maintenance.
And that's based on the original valuation.
That is based on the
Thank you.
current valuation.
Current, yes.
Valuation, yes, sir. Or what they're currently insured for. General liability, and I'm sorry, I don't think I mentioned the amounts for property. 11,527 last year, 15,392 this year, with everything being as it was, minus the addition of the 3 buildings. General liability is the big one. You're looking at 36,119 to 38,242 for the year. Business auto from 16,264 to 18,589. Excess liability from 19,006 to 21,006, about a $2,000 increase. D&O, or directors and officers liability, and employment practices liability, 14,600 to 15,800. Liquor liability, I guess maybe because we haven't had any incidents, stays the exact same at 1,399, and then excess liquor liability at 1,086 to 12,096. So again, everything else being as it was, but with the addition.
You meant 1,200, right?
What's that?
I said you went from 18 to 12,000 or 1,200.
No, it went from 1,086 to 12,000 or to 1,296. Did I say 1,000?
Okay.
Before?
Yeah, you did. That's what
Okay.
scared me.
1,086 to 1,296. There we go.
I'm kind of okay with an 8 to 10% increase, but that was kind of
Yes, kind
a
of
little bit high.
Grand total for all policies. The current year we're at $100,731. Moving forward to next year would be $112,365. Again, everything being equal. Okay. So significant changes that they noted: added 3 buildings, increasing the totals from $1,096,000, and this is the statement of values for buildings only, to $1.474 million. Increased total equipment schedule from $507,000 to $728,000, and then changed the carrier for cyber liability from Travelers to Lloyd's of London. Our options are as follows. You may remember that we asked them to look at stair stepping this for us, and I mentioned those per square foot values earlier. This is how that would affect premiums. We also asked them to look at a $25,000 deductible for building versus the current $5,000. And frankly, I'm used to nothing less than 50,000. Even at some places as spread out as the Cliffs was. This is per incident. So again, if all buildings were wiped out or more than one building was wiped out in an incident, the deductible would be the same as if it happened to one building only. So at $75 per square foot, we would go from 15,392, and this is still at the $5,000 deductible, to 22,264. So about a $7,000 difference is my math is right. Take off
What's the current rate based on? How much per square foot?
It's I
like
think
about
it's all over the
50.
board. Yeah, right. The one building that I quoted was right about $50 a square foot.
Okay.
Okay.
Just as a reference, so people listening and myself would know. Thank you.
So that would be current, Jeff?
Yeah, just the couple buildings that we looked at. Keep in mind that the lodge at $75 a square foot, it would actually
down.
knock $12,000 off the value. So they're not consistent. I think it's whatever was put in 4 or 5 years ago and hasn't changed. It's sketchy.
But without having appraisals done, we really
Right.
have no way of.
That's why
Right,
some of the
yeah,
values are higher and some of the values are actually lower.
Yeah, which I think is why you really look at what is construction costs these days. What are construction costs these days? They're all wood frame, right? And he's saying that $105 a square foot. We're at between 70.
No, I think we need to increase them. It's just what do we
It's just a
increase
matter of
to?
how much.
A $7,000 increase or a 10?
Yeah, and then the next one, $90 a square foot would take it from the 15,300 up to 25,286. And I think what I was saying on the $75 a square foot is you'd take about $2,900 off of that annual amount if we raised it to a $25,000 deductible. At $90 a square foot, it would take about $3,300 off of the $25,000 annual total. And then at $105 a square foot, you're looking at $28,308 at $5,000 deductible versus the $15,392. So add about $13,000 to that current amount. Subtract $3,600 or $3,700 if you went with a $25,000 deductible. And where the deductible really saves you is over time. If you don't have incidents, you're looking at you're saving between $2,200 and $3,600 a year. That said, for building value, I don't, given the age of a lot of the buildings, given the things that we're seeing at the lodge that we're going through trying to correct now, as an example, I don't think it's unreasonable to go to the $105 a square foot rather than stair stepping over the next few years, because you're talking about a $6,000 annual difference between 75 and 100 square foot.
If you bump up the deductible.
Then you would, then you're gonna be at about 25, just under 25,000 for that $105 a square foot. And and JJ and I talked about the deductible. I can go either way with that. There's benefits to both. We do have a better reserve now than the club has had for the past several years, so you can look at it that way. And it's really a matter of risk management. But first time you have a loss, it's thank God we only had a $5,000 deductible.
Right.
So,
And the just looking at the front post office and the restroom, that was totaled we wouldn't get any insurance. Because it's less than the 25,000, that would be the deductible.
Those individual buildings.
Yeah.
They were part of a big lot.
That's different.
Yeah, exactly.
And we never pay anybody or any help.
No.
That you could recommend.
Would it be feasible for us to maybe keep our deductible down, start working on our our replacement costs for the buildings? Then maybe start within the budget someplace, put in a building replacement, or just so we have, I don't know what you call it, escrow account. If we can jump this to 25 or 50,000 deductible or even more. I mean, our first problem is we're okay if we don't have an incident in the first few years till we hit that amount. But if we put money into an escrow within our budget someplace or something for that, that way we'd kind of be able to offset over time and increase our value, couldn't we?
Well, we kind of have an escrow account. We have a capital and a depreciation fund, but I mean, we're not funding those completely right now, so really wouldn't be able to have another escrow fund.
Well, I just some way of showing that we have that money there, just to the membership, that we're not out 50,000 if the lodge burns down or gets blown away by a hurricane, is what I was thinking. And while it's there now, with future expenses that we know we have incurring over the years, I was just wondering if there's some way, peace of mind kind of thing, if we knew we had that there and we tried to maintain that as a minimum reserve or something, so we had that, basically self-insuring ourselves with that funding already there, instead of trying to figure out where we're going to scratch it up from if we ever do need it. It's just a question. Again, I'm not insurance guy or money guy, but I'm trying to look at better coverage and yet still feel comfortable and have all the membership be comfortable too.
So you're saying budget for the rainy day, per se?
Well, if we go automatically now to a $50,000 deductible, karma in my life would say I'd have the front post office restroom burned down and we'd have to rebuild it. Today we could do that, but as we go forward and trying to establish a long-term budget and know where we're going, I would like to see something in there that we know, and once this group is gone and the next group of trustees are gone, this is kind of something that will always carry through and everybody will be aware of it that way. It's kind of tribal knowledge stuff right now, what our deductible and stuff is. Only know if you're listening now, basically.
I guess I would see the point and the value in that.
I mean, we're barely struggling to money in our capital and depreciation funds as it is. Where are we going to budget more money for another reserve?
I'm just asking questions. That's all I'm doing. I don't know. That's your expertise. Tell me, Jim.
Well, I mean, if we had a loss, post office went down, we'd try to take the security building out with it. One incident.
Okay, never mind. I get it. Don't say anything else. You're incriminating all of us.
We would basically have to, that's why we have a capital fund. We would have to tip the capital fund to say, hey, there's a piece of this we have to pay for. That's kind of what that's for. It's a rainy day fund.
Well, I just want to make sure that, there's some sort of understanding, or there's something. Every day it seems like, now that we've changed management, we uncover more and more things that, geez, none of us knew this stuff. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Well, this is the first I've seen this in 6 years. So,
well, okay. To my point, that's what I mean.
Sorry.
No, I understand what you're saying, Steve, but I think what we have to do is with this year take the lower deductible, but then really look at it. If we can get an appraiser, fine. If not, try to add the common sense with, what is the square footage? What's the cost of square footage for certain buildings and things like that? I think we have to do our homework a little bit more for the future to turn around, and then maybe we can be comfortable with a $25,000 deductible or a $10,000 deductible.
And it may be that you stair step the deductible.
Sure.
You know, I mean, you know, 'cause one way going about it would be, okay, jack the deductible up now and put all the savings into this
Fund.
escrow fund. But that's
Well, it's a piece of assumable risk. How much are we comfortable as the leaders of this community? How much risk are we comfortable assuming? You know, and I guess that's my point. What you said, JJ, yeah, is dead on, and I think it's something we have to watch over the years and start bringing the deductible up as we increase value. So that way we're kind of the teeters going back and forth, but not making the big swing as we make, you know, additional insurance coverage available and also assuming more of that risk as we go. So
Right.
I think we're all on the same page. I just don't know how to the money thing, asking the question, Jim. So that's the only reason I was asking for that.
in my mind, and I wanted to have different options out there. In my mind, the deductible is the more minor of the two questions. So do we all agree that $5,000 is what we stick with for now?
I
I
would
think
say
it's
yes.
too low, but I'd at least like to go to 10. I think
Could he price out a 10
10
for
would
us?
save us $600 a year on the current
Yeah.
coverage. So take it up that it
Yeah,
would
mine
save us
would.
that same percentage off the deductible as it moves up. I didn't do that. Sorry.
So it would cost us 5,000 more of our money to save 600.
I don't think that's gonna.
Yeah.
I don't think that sounds like a good idea.
No, but I do. What do we want to up? I think the values need to be upped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, not all.
Agreed.
Well,
I think that is the bigger question.
yeah.
That's the real question.
And
Well,
and
we discussed last time we had all this out on the table that we were going to do this in stair step type process, right?
well, that was one of the options to look at, but that's why we had him. He was perfectly willing to say, okay, here's your next step.
Yeah.
But I said, no, I want everything up. Maximum should be, because I'm not sure that we shouldn't be covering at the maximum for an extra
It's
$1,000 a month.
it's 14. It's about 14 too.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I completely agree.
And
That's-
and Chaz, to your point of getting an appraisal, yeah, that's a much better long-term plan. But I think that I think that we're doing ourselves a disservice if we don't take it up pretty significantly.
Understood. Well, and essentially you're backing into it anyway.
Right.
So.
Yep.
I'd support going to the max. You look at some of the values. If the clubhouse would burn down, we get $60,000 for it, or 61,000 less than deductible.
Yeah.
We're coming up with 300,000 to rebuild that.
Right.
Easy.
And what we just put 30,000 into it or something?
Yeah, $60
Yeah.
for a storage room.
60. There you go. You can rebuild your storage room.
Yeah.
For what we're at now.
But that's just where you can see that the values are just off. And, do we get the appraiser in here? Going to be, what's the benefit of getting the appraiser for when we do these things? Or is it something that you just try to use more common sense on the construction costs per square foot? Things like that.
But and yeah, I think with an appraisal you can make it. I think what Chaz was looking at is making more of an exact science where you can say, okay, the barn, here's the replacement value for the barn, and
Right.
Yeah.
do that plus 5% or whatever for the next couple of years. The replacement value for the lodge is going to be significantly greater per square foot.
The fitness center is basically a pole barn. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
it's not worth $250,000, whereas the clubhouse, that would probably cost you $250,000 to rebuild that right now.
Yeah.
So
Next
it's
year,
kind of all over the board, but just upping the values is gonna get us a lot closer to where we need.
and next year, if you had those appraisals per building, go for whatever the cost of the appraisal is, you might be able to actually save some money.
Sure.
By dropping some of the reconstruction costs down.
I'd have to think for commercial, even 105 per square I don't think it'd be close. I think it'd be double that. So I'm kind of with Jim too. I'd like to get it up as high as we can afford and again, watch our deductible, but
Okay. Good, Rex?
I agree.
Marty?
Yeah, I'm good with that. jack it up as
Okay.
much as we can.
Yep.
Go with the 105 per square foot now, and then make the goal for next year's getting each building individually.
Trying to get some appraisals done.
Okay, that is a deal.
So would you like a motion, make it official, or are you good with?
We can do a motion.
So I move that we raise the valuation to the $105 a square foot, which will take the entire insurance bill up to more than $127,000. Is my math correct?
What deductible?
I think it is.
And with
With a
the
$5,000
and holding the $5,000.
Yeah, stick with the 5 for now.
Yeah.
Let me make sure we don't need to redo the math on that.
Okay. Double check me. That was pen and paper and not
Okay.
calculator.
And you kept your shoes on.
I did.
What?
Yep, 126,200. So good.
Okay.
Check.
Good. All right. So do we need to talk about the financing of this?
We do. So I looked at the code because I figured.
No, I didn't. Nobody did.
For the past several years, and I understand why. So I'm gonna let me go to page 20 first of all. So you've got of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 types of insurance, 5 of them require payment up front. Okay, it's an annual payment once and done. They don't bill quarterly, they don't bill monthly, they don't bill twice annually. They want it up front. It's only auto and management liability, or the directors and et cetera, that allow quarterly billing. Everything else, which is of course all the more expensive ones, require the annual billing. So what he had given me, and this was based on the current statements of values for the buildings. Okay. So he's going back to the drawing board on this and what they've done for the past 5 or 6 years we've been with this insurance company is running it through Westfield Bank to finance the premiums versus coming up with, in this case, it would have been an additional $81,631 up front, which even currently would tax our operating account. For that, at 5.9% APR, you're looking at about $1,500 worth of finance charge. Now, I looked at the code because there is something in the code about can't do loans essentially, but that is anything that would encumber any of the club. The only collateral here is if we quit paying the financing fee, the monthly fees, monthly payments, then we lose the insurance. There is no building, piece of property, asset, or firstborn that is encumbered by this loan.
We were pledging our insurance coverage.
Yeah.
Reality is most of your insurance companies do this anyway. So pay your auto premium a year ahead. They call it a discount, but really you're doing the payments over a monthly, they're charging.
Yep.
They may be financing it by a third party.
They may be financing, not telling you.
Yeah.
You're paying a premium to do that.
I bet they're making money on it too.
Bet you're right.
Insurance companies do. So
Yeah, that's their business.
So any issues with that? And it'll be a bigger amount again by about 14,200.
Yeah.
So it'll be closer to $95,000.
Well, just looking at
So
finance
in
chart.
general, what
Go ahead.
you had, it looked like it was just like another for the old values, just basically one extra monthly payment was just not going to cover the finance charge if we did it 12 months as it stands today instead of before we up it.
Correct.
And we
And-
really can't just write that check either today.
Right, exactly.
And we can, I talked to Penny about it. We could do it over 2 or 3 months, but you're saving $1,000 maybe in finance charges. So I'm not
Putting
sure it's
yourself-
not worth just letting this be the accrual
No,
for the year.
that's worth the cash flow.
Yeah, you put us in a cash flow bind.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Nope. It's always good to pay payroll.
I'm fine with continuing to just finance this thing.
Okay. Do we need a vote
As
on
long
that?
as we're within our rules, I agree.
Yeah, we checked it out, and the real thing was based on collateral. And since the only collateral is our insurance itself, then that's not really collateral.
We'll put Jim up for collateral.
Put
Yeah,
Jim up.
There you go.
Well, he's leaving. in September.
Well, that's all right. He's still collateral.
Okay.
I'm not
so-
worth that much money. All right. Get motion.
Yes.
I move that we finance the initial payments of the insurance. What do we think it was going to be? 80?
95.
95.
Well, I guess we really don't need to worry about the premiums because because we've already agreed to pay the premiums. We're going to pay a finance charge
Just a
of not more than $2,000.
Correct.
It looks like.
Correct.
Second.
You guys good with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a dangerous question here. So because of the amount of this insurance, is this something that needs to go to the board? And if so, we're going to be
On the
without
deadline.
insurance for a day.
Never.
E-vote.
Answer that question. I don't think it needs to go the board.
Boards for policy and practice, right?
I don't think it's ever come to the board.
No, it's never gone. We've just always renewed the policy and kept moving
Okay,
practice.
fair enough.
All right. Anything else we need to be discussed in open forum?
Just some quick lodge and clubhouse updates.
Oh, yeah. Let's get the.
Okay.
Talk about
Um,
the prime rib though.
What's that?
Got prime rib.
And prime rib is on that list. So new lodge hours, clubhouse hours. Again, we sent an email blast out. JJ covered the philosophy behind the timing, 9 p.m. versus 8 p.m. for the lodge. Upcoming wine event, we are planning. I'm looking. November's getting kind of thin, so probably first week of December for wine and appetizers, and then trying to schedule a wine dinner in January. The lodge is closed, and I've got a few calls about Thanksgiving, but the lodge will be closed Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Eve, as we've got the chapel service in there, Christmas Day, and then New Year's Day. The food service committee and operations is looking very steadfastly at a rockin' New Year's Eve party. So
New Year's Eve.
we'll let the staff recover from that New Year's Eve party the next day.
It
But
is.
Thanksgiving, I guess in the past, and the lodge has done big Thanksgiving buffets and that kind of thing. And I've been involved with a lot of those at different facilities. But the bottom line is this: we all know we're having staffing issues. It is a much different world in hospitality than it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I could have very well said, work or you don't work here, work that day or you don't work here anymore. That's why so many people left hospitality, and why hospitality is hurting so bad right now, was the hours and the holidays and that kind of thing. So versus taking that risk versus trying to do something that we likely wouldn't be able to do well, keeping in mind that most of our staff is kids and it's like one of the two big holidays of the year. I think it is better just to let the staff have the holiday off and not take a chance. What we do then Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday is where the prime rib idea came up. We want to make sure with our thin staff that we're able to accommodate anybody that is in Hideaway Hills with family and that kind of thing. So we're thinking of a buffet on Friday. I don't think turkey is the right way to go because I think everybody will be pretty out from Thanksgiving. But maybe do a modified buffet and maybe with some pork loin and and chicken or pork loin and fish versus the usual and fish, leading into Saturday being, this is an idea that Steve had originally had, a prime rib night. Now, that said, prime rib is expensive. About $17 a pound would be our price on it. So we'd have to charge, and with labor, with vegetables and starch, have to charge right about $29-30 a head. So I had sent out the thinking behind it to everyone, and really wondering, do you all think it will sell? If not, then we just do a regular buffet, and we can do that for a lot less money. Honestly, maybe the time that everybody's got family in town isn't the time to do prime rib. I don't know. If I've got a bunch of kids visiting, I wouldn't want to go spend a bunch of money on a prime rib buffet with a bunch of kids with me.
They're bright as long as we have doggy bags.
Not me to call you dad.
And to be clear, this would not be a buffet. This would be served from the kitchen. We'd have to do seatings like every half an hour. Our options being, ask people to turn the tables within an hour and a half or so, which is for one plate of prime rib per person should be pretty reasonable. Be able to get about 100 people through, or don't do that and use only the seating that we've got in there. You got to knock about 5% off of that, because a family of 8 isn't gonna is gonna have a couple extra open seats at a table of 10, and knock about $1,000 off of the revenue that we make.
Can we push a few of the high tops back in the bar and salvage usable tables from downstairs, and instead of the high tops in the dining room? My thought is, I think it's good for the serving size, and I hope nobody mistook my comments on this thing, because I think it's, from those I've talked to, they're looking forward to prime rib coming back. The timing, I don't know, Jeff, but we always try it, and we'll know next time. But I just hate to see somebody that would come and enjoy themselves feel committed to having to leave after an hour and a half, especially some of the groups that we get there that when we come up for dinner, we also sit there for 2 or 3 hours and socialize and spend money at the lodge too. So that was my only comment there. I wouldn't want anybody to alienate or have our staff have to say, excuse me, your time limit's up, you have to get up. That was my only thought.
That's always an awkward conversation. And
Well,
to answer the question about the high tops, I honestly don't know if we would gain any more seats by removing the high tops, because the tabletops are small enough. You're maximizing square footage with those high tops in there.
I was not so much chairs, but just maybe the tables. I mean, most people are standing up and socializing, but a place to set their drink is what I was thinking.
Okay.
And maybe utilize a little more of the bar area, because a lot of people are standing in there anyway.
I'm looking at 1, 2, 3 square tables down here. We've got plenty of chairs in storage, and I think a couple more of those tables down in storage, only in storage as of this year, so they haven't turned to dust yet. Maybe put those on the dance floor. We'd certainly have to have them removed by New Year's Eve, but put those on the dance floor and have 4 more tables. We had done that once before. You still maintain some social distancing that way. It is still a thing. But you've got 16, 18, 20 more chairs in there.
Just a thought. If everybody thinks it'll work, I just don't want to keep our regulars that do spend 3 or 4 hours up there on a Friday or a Saturday night to feel uncomfortable leaving in an hour and a half. That was my only thought pattern there too.
I get it.
I mean, you just haven't seen JJ get upset. I just don't want him to get upset.
Yeah,
if you ask him to leave,
Jim's asking if we could handle that many people. We had looked at a couple of different ways of seating, and really the way to go there is you seat on average of, based on the number of seats, you can say 16 to 20 per half hour. If you have to have a half hour where you got a big enough group coming in where it's going to be 24 people, then the next half hour you're seating 16. And that way the kitchen can handle getting the plates out because they know it's coming. Prime ribs all at the same temp, except the ends. You're getting medium or rare plus to medium minus or medium rare plus. And the veg and the starch would be the same. You're only talking about one entree that
You're
night.
scooping it.
Front of house, you'd have to have all hands on deck. But frankly, for prime rib night, I'd probably come in and help out.
Do you think that's the right weekend to do that, or?
Yeah, and that's really the big question is, number one, would it sell? And it sounds like it would. The second one is, do we do it that weekend, or are we shooting ourselves in the foot by doing it? Because honestly, if we can only accommodate, because so many people show up for it, and then a lot of people are sticking around for the 3 or 4 hours, as Steve mentioned, we can only accommodate 95 to 100 people. Is that the right way to go? Or do you see more turn with just a regular buffet?
I'd like to address the president with a question. Is there a football game that day, President?
Friday? That's Tuesday.
No, that'd be on
No, it'd be Saturday, wouldn't it?
Oh, Saturday.
Saturday. That would be Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's also another consideration because I know our community has a lot of gatherings around that weekend and that particular football game.
Purdue this weekend, Michigan State,
And then Michigan.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll
But it's a noon game.
Hey,
Okay.
They've already announced.
they have?
Yeah,
Okay.
They announced
All
it
right.
today.
Anybody be sober enough to eat prime rib? Maybe they'll eat 2 helpings.
Yeah, so do you think, is it better to put it off for a different weekend or try it this weekend? JJ's thinking. a different
I
weekend.
think we put it off.
I
And
agree.
really,
Yeah, great question, Steve.
really, look at the
Golly,
calendar.
Neds, I'm so glad I was able to contribute something
Hold on,
positive
Steve.
tonight.
Yeah.
We
Hold
look at the calendar and see something like this. I mean, the Halloween party, we had the Buick Barn, we had the Ohio State game. So those were factors that if we could have looked at that sooner rather than
Good
later,
point.
we may have made a different decision on different things.
Okay, good point.
So
Mhm.
something that we want to do, no doubt, but that might not be the best time.
Okay.
There's a lot of factors involved with that one.
Okay.
You know.
And then to the question of potential waste, the intent would be, and our POS system doesn't really have a way to prepay. It would really it would drastically skew our numbers if we did a prepayment reservation. I say we just do a reservation. I mean, it's only members. It's not like we're letting outsiders in that are gonna no show. We know where people live here. I was smiling when I said that, people.
We'll deliver their food.
Exactly.
Then they'll
Yeah.
pay for it.
We would prepare the number of prime ribs, whole prime ribs, based on reservations, and any that you then had left. Say you only had 3 slices you were using out of the very last one. Well, then what you would do is then run a special of like a blackened prime rib for a couple of days the following week, and there'd be a pretty good chance I think we would still have something like that.
So, Jeff, could you handle the deposit or the deposit or the prepay with the gift? We sell gift cards, which doesn't skew your numbers. I mean, I like your idea. I'm not saying we do it, but I'm just saying if we had to do that, you could do it as a gift card sale.
Okay.
Well, that's a little tough though too, because somebody would buy the gift card, and we would be thinking that would be for the prime rib, and
They don't
they would
show up.
decide, no, something's changed. The reservations is really the one when we're doing a dinner like that. I think the reservations are good. The prepaid, I don't think the members would really go for something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So just reservation only.
Yeah, and you, based on that, you could always in the future count on some kind of no-show factor if you had any
Sure.
no-shows. But I would guess again in a private community, you're not going to see that much.
So
And give
just a question on the prepaid thing though. If you did it all within a month, it's not going to skew any numbers at all.
What was that, Marty?
I said if you did the prepaid reservation and then the prime rib meal all within the same month, it's not going to skew any numbers,
Gonna skew your daily.
right? Because
it would for daily, and we
your
actually reports based
daily,
on
but You
On
don't
the
you
days
don't
of
manage on a daily thing though, right?
I don't think it's really necessary for the prepaid. You can do the reservations. That'll give you a very, very good ballpark because you also have the ability for somebody to come in and make a reservation. And if you have the room, that's just a bonus. If they don't, that's a little bit, that's hard. But then,
I'll own up to it. The prepaid thing was my idea, and you're exactly right, Jeff. I was basing my pre-thoughts on an open to the public, which you had a higher tendency for somebody to say, "Yeah, I'll be there," and not show up, not being vested. I really don't think now, after thinking about it, and you bringing that up, our members are going to commit to it in hell or high water or illness in the family. They're going to be there if they say it and make a reservation. I agree. It was just a thought out of my previous history, a way of just managing some of the cost up front. So
Okay.
I'm good. No, I totally agree.
So we're
I
gonna,
just want prime rib.
we're gonna do this. We just got to figure out a
Yeah,
date.
we'll come up with a different date.
I got food services tomorrow. We'll see what we can.
That's okay. That's good. And then the final thing for lodge updates is our grill, chart griller, and flat top are here. They will be installed on Monday.
When can we get a steak?
That's the
Yeah, do we get a test fire on that? I mean, we got to break it in, right? We need to do that.
Yeah, and he's talking about maybe doing like similar to what we were talking about with prime rib night, doing perhaps a steak night.
very nice.
All right.
Very
So
nice.
anyway, new equipment's in. It cost us not just over half of what we thought it was going to, including the 5-year warranties on each of them. They're both good
Super.
of equipment and much more what the design of that kitchen needs than a 60-inch long flat top.
All right. Any other lodge updates?
That's it. And Clubhouse was just the hours that we sent the email about. So,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah.
good point. Thank you for that. Yeah, it'll be 25% off total bill for veterans and their tables. So if you know any veterans, sit with them at the lodge on Thursday.
Not alcohol.
Oh, not alcohol?
No, it's just food.
Oh, is it?
Food.
Okay.
Food.
Oh.
The food.
What?
Hey, I would love it to be 25% off. Hey,
Yeah, why? Why wouldn't we?
that was I had heard. If we're gonna do it, hey,
Yeah.
I have no issue.
And
Jim, I think you need to adopt me, I think, for that one if it's alcohol.
Hey, go for it.
yeah,
25 on it, the whole bill.
Yeah, I say we do it. It's,
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. That was my
we appreciate
assumption.
the veterans. We want to show our appreciation
That's it.
any way we can.
And
so.
then
Amen.
about the 10% going forward.
And then moving forward on a daily basis, it'll be that same thing, but 10% off for veterans that can, that we either know are a veteran or can show their military ID. Cool.
All right. Anything else?
Thank you, Jim. No, that's all. Jim, anything else? Anything else I forgot?
Anybody got anything they want to bring up? No, I'm
Hey,
good.
just it's kind of about the clubhouse and the equipment in there. So last week, I think it was Thursday when the lodge lost power and all that. I just happened to go into the clubhouse after he got finished golfing and the place was slammed. So I helped Sierra out with cooking and stuff. And boy, that grill, you put like 2 burgers on that thing and it just loses its ability to keep up. I don't know if it's in the plan, Jeff, to get a new one there, but we might want to look at that one since we saved some money on the stuff for the lodge to upgrade that a little bit.
Is there room to take the one from the lodge up there?
No, I don't think so.
No, it's got to be a small one.
4-inch unit,
24 or 36.
24.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're looking, Chris had asked about getting a new griddle and a new fryer because they're both of old age.
And a new freezer.
The new freezer's been an issue for the last couple months. So those are the 3 things that they're looking for. Problem with the clubhouse is space. It probably would have been better if that new addition would have been the kitchen and the old area would be for storage, but that didn't happen and that's not going to happen because the cost associated with that would add probably another 30 grand to it.
So, yeah, I think it's
Thanks for bringing that up.
Marty, I don't recall a griddle in the near future on the depreciation list. A freezer is for next year. And we've got that cost pretty well set at what we paid this year plus a few percentage points. So it may be worth looking at, especially for the price of a smaller one. It may very well
Yeah.
be at getting something new with better BTUs. But that one was weak
Yeah,
even
it was painfully slow.
in its heyday.
Right.
Rick's got a cutting torch. I think we can just cut a couple foot off the one from the lodge.
Oh, Steve, we're going to start it at your place, so you know.
Hey,
Does that sound more like me saying that? I just thought you guys would appreciate me saying that. And it's going to get cold pretty soon. We don't need a freezer. We'll just put stuff outside.
There you go.
Anything else, guys?
No, sir.
All right, let's end this meeting.
All right, we're
All right,
gonna
thanks, everyone.
head into executive session briefly.
Yep.
So I'm going to stop recording. If anyone that is not on the
Thanks,
management
Jim. Thank you, Jim.
committee would please leave the WebEx, that would be